Access to Democracy is made possible by donations from the following organizations. Thomson Reuters, a global company with expertise and insight to unravel complex situations in the areas of law, tax, compliance, government, and media. Their worldwide network of journalists and editors keep customers up to speed on relevant global events. Thomson Reuters, the answer company. The division championship Minnesota Twins are looking to go all the way to the World Series in 2024. Bolstered by inspirational shortstop Carlos Correa, a healthy Brian Buxton, and rookie phenom Royce Lewis, plus a pitching staff led by Pablo Lopez and an outstanding bullpen featuring Johan Duran, the Twins are the best bargain in the major leagues, and Target Field is the best venue in baseball. Sheridan Dulas & Kins, PA, a family and criminal defense law firm, has been serving clients in Dakota County and throughout Minnesota for over 40 years. Ranked a Tier 1 Best Law Firm by U.S. News and World Report every year since 2009, Sheridan Dulas & Kins are here to help you in your most difficult life circumstances. Established in 2007, 45th Parallel Spirits was among the first 50 micro-distilleries in the United States. Based in New Richmond, Wisconsin, all aspects of production occur at our facility. If you're interested in visiting and learning more about the 45th Parallel Distillery, please check our website and plan a visit to tour our facility and taste our spirits. Truestone Financial, with locations in Minnesota and Wisconsin, has proudly served its members since 1939. Truestone engages, educates, and supports its members to ensure they have the tools to empower their financial well-being. Truestone Financial, your neighborhood credit union. Learn more at truestone.org.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Access to Democracy. Thank you for joining us. I'm your host, Bill Raker. Today, we have the pleasure of welcoming as our guest on the program the Community Development Director for the City of Eagan, Jill Hutmacher. Jill, welcome to Access to Democracy.
Thanks, Bill.
It's a real pleasure to have you here to talk with our viewers about the what, why, when, how, whatever it is that community development is all about, your role here in our great city of Eagan. So we're looking forward to it.
I'm happy to be here.
So let's start with you sharing with how you got involved with this kind of work and what motivated you to say, this is what I want to do, this is what I like doing.
Well, it's kind of a long process. When I was in college, for my undergraduate degree, the degree was international relations. And I enjoyed that. I liked the policy parts of that. I studied abroad. I interned at the United Nations in Vienna. I knew the children of diplomats, and I discovered that I didn't want to do that. I really wanted to have my roots in one place, and I wanted to be able to make an impact at a local level where I could actually see what I'm working on. And that eventually led me into planning, and I earned a master's degree in planning from Minnesota State Mankato, and many years later, here I am.
And so was working with the City of Eagan your first job after you got your degree?
Oh, no.
No?
Eagan is the kind of job that you aspire to.
Okay.
You earn jobs in Eagan. I started actually immediately after graduate. I earned my graduate degree. My first job was actually at the Dakota County Community Development Agency. Mm-hmm. And then I moved on to the City of Bloomington, also working in development, and then Community Development Director in the City of Arden Hills, and then finally here in Eagan. So it's hopping around a little bit, but I learned so much in all of those places, and in every job I increased my responsibilities and my knowledge, and I brought that all here to Eagan with me, and I am thrilled to be here.
Well, I know the citizens who live here in Eagan, call Eagan home, really benefit from the role that someone like you has in city government, city administration. So what is it that a community development director does?
Well, a big part of my job is simply being the director of a large department. So, and community development includes planning and zoning, building inspections, property maintenance, code enforcement, and economic development. So quite a few different functions, all really about the sort of the physical development of our community, the things that you see above the ground. Public Works handles the thing below the ground. We handle all of the buildings above the ground. We make sure they're safe. We make sure they're located in areas where they make sense. We don't put, industrial, a factory next to perhaps a park. Generally, we try and avoid that, but things are done in a way that makes sense, and so that's what we work on in our department.
Well, there are a lot of factors that must then be analyzed and brought together to figure out what's the best way to do this, the best use of this area, this property. Do you use outside resources that you consult with or that help you with some of these planning projects?
Well, most of our planning is based on what the city has already put together, the plans that the city has already put together. We begin with the comprehensive plan. That is updated every 10 years per state statutes, and we work with the Metropolitan Council to do that. Pretty soon we'll be working on our 2050 update. So we'll be planning out to 2050 with our next update that we'll be doing in the next few years. So the comprehensive plan sets the land use, the land use designations for all of the land in Eagan. From there, say if a project wants to move forward, the next step is to look at the zoning. And the zoning is, imagine this is a pyramid where the comprehensive plan is the bottom of the pyramid, and then you go up to the zoning and to the site plans of each particular site as you become more detailed in what we're looking at on a site-by-site basis. So we're looking at the comprehensive plan, we're looking at the zoning code, we're looking at other parts of the city code, we're working with engineering to look at what are the infrastructure needs for sewer and water and stormwater, all of those needs, the road connections, depending upon the use, what is its proximity to other uses, how can those be well connected? So all of these different things that we're looking at as things go forward. And then of course, once the project is approved and it goes into the building phase and the building inspections department takes over and they're looking at the approved plans and making sure everything is consistent with the Minnesota State Building Code, seeing it built, doing inspections, make sure it's being done consistent with the code so that we have safe buildings for our residents and our businesses and all the employees who work in Eagan. And then we have our code enforcement team and our property maintenance team to make sure that 20 years later, things are really kept up and maintained, increasing, making sure that the property values in Eagan remain stable and making sure we don't have blight developing for lack of maintenance. And so it's a whole process.
So there's the development of maybe a new area of property, of land. But you also, I believe, oversee like redevelopment of parts of the city, the community that you were describing how you need to be aware of what's happening to the infrastructure, to the physical structures that are already there so that you keep the city alive and dynamic, right?
Absolutely, because Eagan is a fully developed city. As we grow, it won't mean simply building on a greenfield site. It will most likely mean removing something that is there now and building something new that is a better fit for the community and the market going forward. So should I talk about an example of that?
I was going to say, this sounds like the right opportunity to segue into a really big redevelopment project that's going on here in Eagan. The Thomson Reuters campus.
Sure.
Is that what you had in mind?
Well, I was thinking of another one, but we can go with that one
Okay,
too.
well,
So
give the one that you had in mind, and then you can tell us a little bit about the Thomson Reuters campus
Sure.
redevelopment.
Well, I can start with the Thomson Reuters campus, and
Fine.
then I'll maybe touch back on another one too. So the Thomson Reuters development, and I'm going to step back just one step further. And several years ago, kind of coming out of COVID, staff was kind of looking at what was happening. We sat down with the city council to say, this hasn't happened yet, but we're seeing the writing on the wall in terms of office space and what is happening, what probably had been happening in the market, but COVID had increased the rate of change with the office environment, of offices needing less space, wanting less space. And so we were looking at some of our major office developments, Thomson Reuters, Blue Cross Blue Shield, and the Delta building and Unisys buildings north of Eagan Central Park and the Eagan Community Center. So that's the next one I'll talk about.
Yes.
The city council, in really great wisdom, we're so lucky to have such a great city council here, said, they looked at those sites and said, these are great sites. We will have new development and new investment on these sites. Thomson Reuters, we think it's a great site. We want someone to come forward with a vision, but we want the private market to lead that vision. The Northwest, what we now call the Northwest Central Commons site, which is a property around Central Park and the Eagan Community Center, the City Council said, on this site, this is adjacent to one of our city's biggest investments in Eagan Community Center and Eagan Central Park. It's in central Eagan, it's very visible, it's surrounded on 3 sides by park or residential. We really need the city to come forward and lead the way in the visioning, involve the community, develop a community vision for this site. So I'll come back in a few moments on that one. Blue Cross Blue Shield, another example of one where the council said, it's a great site, this is the one we want to see the private sector. We want a vision, but we're willing to let the private sector come and lead the visioning process for that. And that one is the one that we're still working on with the private sector. Thomson Reuters worked they interviewed many developers and eventually chose Ryan Companies, who's very experienced in large projects. They're currently working on Highland Bridge in St. Paul, the redevelopment of the Ford site, as well as Thomson Reuters here in Eagan. A large company, very experienced with these complicated, complex, large redevelopment projects. They chose Ryan Companies, and Ryan Companies started with doing a lot of community meetings, listening to the city, listening to city staff, doing community meetings and hearing what needed to happen. But we also knew that the 1.1 million square foot building that was the Thomson Reuters office building was just not going to be reused. In the market, it was a white elephant. Beautiful building, very well constructed, very well maintained, but the size of the building and the huge floor plates on it really did not render it reusable in the market.
Not convertible to
another
some
use.
Other kind of use.
Correct.
In a practical way.
In a practical, exactly. Yeah. Thomson Reuters, then working with staff, hearing from the community, they came up with a plan that respected both our need for tax base, the industrial nature of that 149 corridor on the east side of the site, but also understanding on the west side of the site, the character is very different. We have single-family residential, we have a park, there were some wetlands, there were a lot of mature trees, and really trying to understand the different characteristics between the east side and the west side. And they came up with a plan that respected both of all of these needs, the needs for economic development for the city, for growing our tax base, but also wanting to preserve that residential feel and that natural feel on the west side of the site. And so what we came up with was a plan that has both significant and light industrial development, commercial development, large increase in the city's tax base, but also some residential, some townhomes, new housing opportunities on the west side of the site, an expansion of the existing Westcott Station Park, a trail connection. So we have a trail now going from we will eventually have a trail connection that goes from El Reen to the park, which we didn't have before, and some conservation areas, conserving some of those natural areas as permanent conservation areas that will not be developed to preserve some of those existing tree stands and some wetlands.
Well, that is a major project.
Yes, it is.
And when it's all done, I mean, it's going to look very different than that area has had for many years when Thomson Reuters was located there. So do you have a time frame for when you think that project is expected to be completed with all of the mixed uses, the diversity of different kinds of industries, businesses, housing, and so forth that's moving in, or
Bill,
hope to move in?
Well, Bill, there's 180 acres there, so it will take some time. It will not be overnight. We will start seeing changes very quickly. I understand the Amazon building, the steel is on site and the steel is coming out of the ground, and that will change the look of that site in the very near future. But the overall development could take several years.
But Amazon already has one property here in Eagan. Are they going to have two, or will they be moving over to
The new building will be a larger distribution facility.
A different kind of usage than the one that they have.
Mm-hmm.
Well, when that's all done, it'll be another jewel here for Eagan. And one of the jewels I think that you wanted to talk about, and I know I'm eager to hear some background, is the big development at Vikings Lake, right? How did that project come about, and what has it meant for Eagan?
Well, it originally came out just shortly before I even came to Eagan, so it feels almost like Eagan legend at this point. But I'll share you the story that I've heard, which was, as you may recall, the Vikings were looking at some land down in southwest of the Twin Cities, in the southwest suburbs. But they had to assemble land, so basically buy land from different landowners, and they had some challenges with that. Mm-hmm. Someone came across this former land of Northwest Airlines, this large campus, purchased it, and immediately turned around and perhaps started marketing it to the Vikings. The Wilfs heard about it, flew into town, loved how close it was to the St. Paul airport, and said they took one look at the land and said, this is it. It's right on 494. It's close to the St. Paul airport. It's close to MSP. It has all the space we need. It has great land features, really great topography. This is our site.
Not all decisions like that are that quick and easy, are they?
No, and I came on just as the city was kind of ramping up and approving the project, but before any of the construction started and before all of that work was done. And apparently in the NFL, there is one down month. Of the entire year, there is 1 month, and that is March. And it had to be, they need to be ready to move into that facility in March of 2018, maybe? I'm not sure.
Sounds reasonable.
About then. And just the construction timeline to get them to that. It was a very tight construction timeline. It was an exciting time, but we got it done, and they moved in March, and here we go. And since then, we've had a lot more development. They've completed 2 phases of residential development. There's been the Omni Hotel, which has been very, very successful, a great addition to the Eagan hospitality community. Been very successful, and I can't wait to see what comes next.
There's still build-out going on there, I think, isn't there?
Yes, there is.
Yeah.
And again, these very large projects, it takes many years to get to completion. Usually you're going through several market cycles, and you have to kind of time that development with the market cycles, and this is how long it takes for these very large projects to be completed.
So Central Park Commons, that's not quite finished yet either, is it?
Not at all. We're just starting that one. We're in the infancy stages of that large redevelopment. So, as I mentioned earlier, we knew several years ago the Delta building was vacant. It seems like Unisys is slowly perhaps departing their building there. And it's next to the city, what goes in there. We just know based on how the market has changed from when those buildings were built, the market for office of that size, it just isn't there right now. And so it would most likely be another use, but what is the use? And so we did about a 1.5 year long public process to develop a plan, a small area plan for that site. And like I said, it took about a 1.5 years. We had 2 rounds of public engagement. We developed concept plans and had feedback on those. And so we have developed now the Northwest Commons Small Area Plan. And I'm pleased to say the Dakota County Community Development Agency, my former workplace, not anymore, but they purchased the former Delta site, and they are moving quickly towards demolishing that building here in late summer this year as we move forward with development in the next few years.
Any other major projects that are completed or in the works or that are planned for the future that you can talk with us about or want to talk with our viewers about?
That's not enough already?
Well, this is really interesting. My feeling is that a lot of people in a community really don't know the backstory or what is really going on in city administration that is really important to the community and as a whole and to the individuals in the community. So having someone like you from the city come and talk to us about these things, I think is really interesting and helpful for the citizens to know more about what it's like to live in a great city like Eagan. So.
I can maybe just mention one other project. You mentioned other ones. I'll throw Metcalf Park out there.
Okay.
This is a redevelopment of the former Metcalf Middle School. And I know that's a big change for the neighbors around there who remember that have a lot of fond memories of the school, whose children went there, who maybe went there themselves. A lot of fond memories, but times change, and the school district made the decision to close that school. And so there's a plan moving forward. I believe it has preliminary approvals for the redevelopment of that site with housing for a mixture of housing, so apartments, townhomes, twin homes, which will be single-level twin homes. It's something that we always hear about, and the council always hears about as being desired in the community, sort of maybe some single-level twin homes or single-level living for people wanting to maybe leave empty nesters downsizing.
A kind of an aging demographic that's growing, right?
As well as some senior co-ops. So really a variety of housing types, and this is something the council really pushed for, is a variety of housing types to meet all of our different demographic needs. And that's something that we have always focused on in Eagan and will continue to focus on, is meeting the housing needs of all of our residents as we go through different life cycles. And people want to be able to come here as young adults and raise children here and retire here and live their entire lives here in Eagan.
So sometimes well, quite often actually, I hear the phrase livable communities. What does that mean to the Director of Community Development?
It means the whole package. It means you can live in this community. You can, as I mentioned before, you can stay here your entire life. You can do your shopping. You can have a job. You can be out in nature. You can be part of the community. You can have your recreation here. And that makes it a livable community because everything you need in this community can be here. You can choose to go elsewhere, but you don't have to. You can really live it's a place where you feel at home, a place where everyone feels at home, where everyone thrives, and the community has all of those supports for you to do that.
I'm going to do something that I don't really do, and maybe shouldn't, but to personalize this a little bit with my own story. You know, my wife and I have been residents of Eagan for 28, 29 years. And we think about downsizing maybe to a smaller house. And we think about where could we find someplace else to live maybe. And we can't, because everything we need and want and cherish and respect and enjoy is right here in Eagan. I mean, we have access to shopping, you know, all kinds of local shopping, the Mall of America, medical facilities are all within a convenient location for us, the airport, access to the freeways. I mean, we couldn't ask for more than what Eagan has to offer. So I think we're going to be staying here a while.
Good, I'm glad to hear it.
Anyway, what's the biggest challenge that you and your staff are working on right now?
I think that it's one of the things I mentioned of just the transition from the office environment. There was the mayor will joke that I once told him we had 2 million square feet of vacant office space, and now I say actually that's not exactly true. I just stopped counting at 2 million square feet. That's been a big thing. That's been a major thing. But Eagan, I think, has done a remarkable job at, and I'm not taking the credit here. It's the city itself in terms of it's an easy sale, an easy sell to bring new investment into Eagan because we have so much here. But that has been the major challenge of looking at the change in the tax base, the change in our office market, and really trying to bring in new investment to reinvigorate some of those areas where we've seen some vacancy. It will be something that we'll be working on for the next several years, but the successes we've seen in the last several years have been phenomenal with what we've been seeing.
But this job isn't one and done kind of thing, is it? I mean, there's always something going on currently and something that's anticipated in the vision, the 20-year, 25, 50-year plan, I think you said, master plan. So there's always something to keep you engaged and working, right?
That's why I love my job. I have a great job. I have a great job in a great community, and the staff at Eagan just can't be beat. Everyone is just working together to really try and do the best for the community all the time.
What about your staff? How many people do you have working directly with you?
Right now in my department, we have 24 people. That includes our 2 seasonal. We have an intern and a seasonal inspector, so 24 people right now.
And so, and you have a budget, and your budget is mostly for the staff that you have, or?
Yes. It would be very, so if we look at different departments, so if you look at Public Works, they have to buy a lot of materials. They have budgets to fix streets and do maintenance, and they have to buy equipment. The same thing with fire. They have to buy fire trucks. They have a lot of equipment needs. In our department, most of our budget is staff. It's about $3.6 million in 2025. But we also collect revenue in to offset some of those costs, which in terms of building permits, building permit revenue, rental licensing revenue that really helps support that
comes
program.
back into your department?
It goes into the general fund.
To the general fund?
Yes,
okay.
we don't
But
get to keep
that
it.
helps fund your department then?
Correct. It all goes to the general fund, and then finance works on making sure that the money is allocated as it is needed. Of course, when someone pays a building permit, it's not just paying the inspector, it's paying the training for that inspector, the car the inspector is driving, the benefits for that inspector, as well as a small portion of someone in HR who is managing payroll and benefits, and a small portion of someone in finance who is administering and handling all the financial information. So we don't get to just keep all that money in
Jill, we have a little bit less than 2 minutes left in this fascinating program. What thoughts, comments would you like to leave with our viewers?
I think it would be just kind of, I'm sure there are a lot of viewers who have worked in private businesses and understand that a private business that makes the same product for decades without thinking about how its customers are changing, about how their needs are changing, is not going to be successful. That private business knows it needs to innovate, adapt, understand their customers' changing needs, understand the different processes, materials available in the marketplace. It's the same with cities. We have to change and adapt. I know for some residents, hard. They maybe moved here like you did decades ago, and they think, I liked it the way it was. Why do we have to change? But the reality is that to stay a strong city, to continue to offer the services and support that we do, we are going to have to adapt and change. And we are trying to do that in an apartment. We're being flexible. We're being aware of what the market needs are. We're aware of what our customers are, our residents and businesses within the city, and trying to really meet those needs and how those needs are changing.
Well, Jill, I think those are great comments that will help our viewers understand a whole lot more about how our city here in Eagan is administered, how it's operated, and the successes that you are enjoying, even though there are lots of challenges that you have to deal with. Our guest on Access to Democracy today has been the Community Development Director for the City of Eagan, Jill Hutmacher. Jill, thank you again, and thank you all for watching Access to Democracy.